and I'm going to be looking at that as well as you.
Oh no, don't worry about me.
Hi, my name's Danny Fleming. We are here with Marcus Collins and Rachel Ades of our team for our 5 keys to maximize sales price masterclass. So, why do we do these? We think it's really important to give information to people so that they understand, if you're thinking about selling, you understand what the really important components are so that you can maximize your sales price. So let's get going. Smart moves made here. We think buying and selling a home is too important to leave to chance. And it's too important to let every decision be guided by emotions and first impressions alone. Then, now let's get into the agenda. I messed that all up, but don't worry about it. Let's keep going. So the first the agenda is smart decisions. Then we have preparation, and we'll talk about each of these in detail. Then staging is incredibly important, marketing, and excellence through teamwork. Each of these components, if you're selling your home, they are vitally important, and we want to go in and explain why each of these components is so important. So the first one is smart decisions. Marcus is going to take this one over, but it's easy to get information today. But you got to make sense of that information that you get. And a lot of the time when selling, it's hard to see who's doing a good job when, most of the work is unseen. So Marcus,
why don't you carry on, and then I will show the website as we're moving through.
Okay, will do.
Carry on through.
So this is why we take the time to explain. We're obsessive about data and the detail of the data, and we study our market so obsessively. Now, where Marcus is going to explain, we used to go into detail about some of the local towns in the area, but we figure it's probably better to show you where you can get the information, because we have about 50 odd towns in our database on our website. And a lot of folks might be interested in a whole lot more towns than what we would show you in detail tonight. So part of where we're going to do is explain where you get the information and where you can find an analysis of that information that we've done previously, because we do every month. We do a market update on a couple of different towns, and we keep those on our website. Now, if the towns that you're interested in aren't in there, then just ask us and we'll do one for a town that you're interested in. So if you go back to the home page, Marcus, because we need to show people how to get there. So on the home page, then going to the blogs by clicking on the menu, read our blog, and then you'll find a whole lot of different market updates. There's 2 here, Lexington and Arlington, and what they are is they are recordings of live stream market updates. And in those market updates, in those live stream market updates, we go into detail pulling different data elements from each individual town, and we talk through what's going on. Now Marcus will show you now on the website where you can go and find those pieces of information. So back to the home page, and now real estate statistics. And as you can see, as we go down, we have a whole different array of different graphs. Remembering each one of these graphs, there's 50 towns worth of data behind them. So if you wanted to know what the average home prices were for select towns, there's a whole, I was going to scroll down and show people how many.
We'll do Arlington. We have somebody from Arlington in the audience, so why don't we show you?
Yeah, we'll show you Arlington.
Before you do that.
But here, there's a whole lot of different towns. In fact, almost all of the towns that are within 495 we have covered, except for the centre of Boston, I believe.
Yeah, Boston's
Yeah.
interesting.
But so if you've got an interest in a town and understanding what's going on, come to the real estate statistics. You don't need to log in to get there. This is data that's fully out there. Marcus. So here's the average sale price
Sale
for
price.
Arlington. We have, let me show you. I have a toy.
Go
I'm
for
going to
it.
show you. Oh yeah, there it
it'll
is.
work. Yeah, it'll work.
Okay, you can see back in 2005 you had the prior peak of the market, and then there was the crash. Well, Arlington didn't see much of a crash, but its average around that time was about 500K. 2009, the market started increasing. Look at the dramatic increase we've been having, and see this dotted red line. That's the current 2021 average. Now that's probably running at about 1,050,000 at the moment. So it's gone from about 550 to 1,050,000 in 10, 11 years. The green bars are the average sales price for each month. So we do go in and explain more about this in the blog posts, in the blogs of the live streamed market updates. Gosh, that's a tongue twister, isn't it? But go back to the statistics, and we'll show what else people have access to. So we saw average home prices. You've got those, town market activity, cumulative sales. That's really key information. Property tax rates, past sales. We often find people are curious about how much they can buy or what sort of things are selling in what. So yeah, pick a town. Arlington, let's do Arlington again. Property type, single family, time range, you can go back last month, 2 months, and a price range. Okay, and now it's going to show you on the map of Boston. It's just pulling the data.
That's a lot.
Now here what you can do is you can click on one of those properties, and then it gives you the information about it. Now that's great. You know, it shows you that it sold for 110%. But more importantly is if you scroll further down, you've got the data all behind it. So the ones that don't have a sale price or sale date are currently under agreement. But where this gets interesting is you can see, if you stop for a second, Marcus, you can see even if you're moving in from another state and know nothing about Arlington, haven't set foot in the town, remembering that this 50 odd towns that we've got this information for. Oh, hang on. What you can do is looking at the list price versus the sale price, you can see, well, what sort of activity is going on here. So this is the list price of $680, sold for $740, $749, sold for $781, $760. You can see that a large number of these homes are selling for over asking price. That gives you a really good idea that the town is a very, very strong town. And there's more key pieces of information with that as well. So that's probably enough
Okay,
on the
sounds good.
statistics, I think, at this point to just show people that that's where we've got. So now,
Carry on.
yeah,
Right, so the question really arises, so that was a huge price increase in Arlington, specifically the last 1 to 2 years. Why is that? And there's a few things going on, but one key thing that's happening is a consequence of COVID. Today's home buyers, and actually home sellers as well, have discovered that the house that they want or the house that they're currently in doesn't fit their requirements anymore. You know, maybe they no longer want a smaller home. Perhaps they want a larger home because they're going to be working from home. Maybe they're not as concerned about the commute, in our case into Boston, as they used to be, because perhaps they're going in once, twice a week. We also see people moving closer to family and friends. In fact, we have that in our family. Our son moved closer to us from California.
From LA.
Could never have done that without COVID. Just could not have done that. So there's a lot going on here that's shifting what today's buyers and today's sellers, because the seller is usually a buyer as well, of course, are actually looking for. So this is the key reason why what we see that large increase, because all of us, what's driving this is a large number of an increased number of buyers. So a larger number of buyers because, well, I'm in the house, I don't really like it anymore, it doesn't fit my needs, let's move. Or I'm in a rental, but I really would like to, I'm in a rental in Boston, I really would like to be in a single family in, for example, Arlington or Watertown. So a lot of this is driving the number of buyers in the market. And that's what
COVID has changed people's fundamental values as to
right.
what they want in a home. It's not, people talk about this market being a bit of a bubble, but we really don't sort of see that anything's going to cause this increased buyer demand to slow down, because it's people fundamentally changing what's important to them.
Right.
And that's why there's such a large migration of people around from house to house, town to town,
and state to
state. Yeah.
So, many people worry about interest rates. I mean, our interest rate's going to be a damper on today's buyers, and so blue is the historic data, and green there is the predictions for the rest of this year and on into the middle of 2022. They're really, really low. I mean, even in comparison to 2018. So interest rates really are not a damper on the market. We hear a lot of talk about it, but it really doesn't affect the market at all. What affects the market and is beginning to affect the market and will continue to, of course, is the graph I just showed you, which is rising prices. Perhaps I was able, this happens to be Lexington, you saw exactly the same data a moment ago for Arlington, it's got the same trajectory, the graph. A little bit of a dip in Lexington when we had the recession. Arlington was relatively flat, but this rise we've seen later on, is really kicking in, and it's this here which is beginning to affect the market, and that's buyers' ability to be able to afford the home they want to move into. I mean, that's key. So this is really, as we look at the future, this is what's going to upset the market, perhaps the right word. This price begins to rise and begins to become too expensive for buyers. So what do we see in 2020 and more importantly now, 2021 year to date? So a large number of sellers changing requirements, but of course there are a number of sellers who are taking profit. I mean, the house prices has gone up by about 20-25% in many towns over the last 2 years. And so, hey, now's a good time to take some profits. So we are seeing a large number of sellers in the market, so because of the change in requirements we talked about, but also some profit taking. An increased number of buyers with those changing requirements due to the pandemic. I want 2 offices. I want some more space. I don't care about the commute, whatever that may or may not be. And it's interesting, if you think back to 2019, we were actually coming into perhaps a softening market. There was discussion around a downturn in the economy, and then COVID came in and threw that one right out the window, of course. So we really shifted from what we're calling a softening seller's market. We're back in what seemed like a long time ago, 2019. Seems like an age ago, right?
We've all been through a lot since then.
It's a lot. Now we're very much moving into a strong seller's market. There are an awful lot of buyers in the market.
A strong seller's market.
Right.
We bought 3 homes on the market last weekend. 1 in Lexington, 2 in Lexington, 1 in Salem,
yeah,
and another one in Lexington too. So we bought 4 homes on the market.
Yeah.
And I know, some of them have just gone crazy.
Yeah. All of them sell for over asking.
Yes.
And we saw that in the data. There's definite price appreciation, and that's what's driving, of course, the number of sellers in the market looking to, take some profit. So that's kind of where we are. In terms of what this means moving forward, which is, I guess, what we care about now, is that the rest of 2021 and 2022. There seems no reason why the number of sellers will not continue at the rate it's at. House prices are very high. Sellers thinking about profit taking, thinking about changing requirements.
Profit taking. That sounds very, very calculated. It's capitalizing on the market. There you go. because we're bringing a personal home of ours on the market tomorrow.
You can call it what you want to.
It's not
That's
profit
fine,
taking. It's capitalizing on the market. We're using the same advice that we're giving to people.
Absolutely.
If you want to sell now. So
Right.
we're doing our own advice, taking our own advice.
So the number of sellers will continue where we are today, just because of prices and changing requirements. There seems to be no end to the number of buyers in the market. One house we brought on the market last weekend, 3 days ago.
70 private showings.
Right.
Yeah.
14 offers on the home. It was priced at
Yeah.
1.6 million. And so there are still a large number of buyers, even though we're coming towards the end of the market in 2021, there are still a large number of buyers who have not been successful or are now deciding to start to move. That will continue through the rest of 2021 and into 2022. So the number of buyers will continue. And so that's why what we're saying is we see it will inevitably get back to some norm in 2022. But with a large number of buyers and an increasing number of buyers continuing to 22, we see this strong sellers market continuing, at least through the first half of 2022.
And we go into predictions of what we believe is going to happen in the market in the blog post,
Yeah.
in the monthly
detail.
market updates.
Right.
Yeah, in a lot more detail.
So, key question is, how much is your home worth? Right, that's kind of key. And it's interesting to look at how we come up with a price in what is a very, very strong market. And it really is the critical component to getting the highest price. Even in this very, very strong market, if you overprice, the home will sit. It's almost inevitable. Buyers are very educated. We'll talk about buyers in a moment, very educated about the market. And so getting the right price is key to getting the highest price.
And it shouldn't
That's
be a
key.
guess.
Right, never a guess. You need to take into account living area, number of beds, baths, conditions, location, all of those things. That's kind of how you come up with that, by doing a comparison of comparable homes. Guess is the wrong way. And one interesting, we hear this quite often. If you think about a 2,500 square foot home versus a 2,000 square foot home, the average dollar per square foot is about $400, give or take. It varies, but that's a good round number. And so the difference between 2,500 and a 2,000 square foot home could easily be $200,000. So numbers ramp up very quickly. And if you're guessing or comparing a house to, well, the house down the road sold for X, well, actually there may be just literally a square footage difference, let alone condition. And those numbers can add up very quickly. And that's why, as Danny said, it really is, you cannot in this market guess, even if it is a strong market, you really can't guess. It is the kiss of death, if you will, in terms of getting the highest price for the home. And so an accurate market analysis is key, even in this market. It isn't a case of put the home on the market, put a price on it, let's see what happens. That really is entirely the wrong approach. You say even in this very, very strong market. Our market analysis are very comprehensive, very analytical, yet easy to read. And we will give you the data so that when we say your house should sell for between X and X, you can look at it and go, okay, I get that. Yeah, you've compared it to this home. This home is in a better location, it's larger, it's been recently updated, it will sell for more than mine. Whereas this one's in a poor location, perhaps not recently updated, a little bit smaller, it will sell for less. So we've written it to be very comprehensive, very analytical, but we give you the information so that it's not, I don't really understand where this came from. You can actually look at that. We provide some market statistics and say that objective comparison between homes, and that gives you the range. And as well as that, we provide a recommendation in terms of price as well as the sales proposal. But as you always say, Danny, recommendation is our role in this. The decision, of course, that a house comes on the market is very much the seller's, of course.
And
we just give a recommendation.
And one thing I think we should probably point out is there's a lot of folks around who will tell you what you want to hear about how much your home is worth. They'll tell you what you want to hear. We won't. We'll tell you what we believe it is. and it may not be what you want to know. You may not want to know that. But it's the right thing to do, because you can get far less for your home if it's overpriced to start with. So it may not be what you want to hear, but it's the right thing to do for us, is being honest with it. Honesty, being honest and completely transparent as to how that range came about.
Right. The way it's written makes it easy to read. That's the key, I think, is the key one. A market analysis should not be a spreadsheet and trust me, I understand the market. It should be, here's the information, this is why I think it's this. Okay, yes, I understand it. I understand why you've come up with that number. Interesting to look at seasonality. Here we are in early September, I guess mid-September really. It's mid-September.
How did that
it's
happen?
The 15th already. It's mid-September.
It was the beginning of summer, just yesterday. I hate the fact that Labor Day just went, because that tells us that winter's coming.
That's true. The nights are drawing in as we kind of sit here at 7 o'clock at night. This is the normal seasonality that we see. This is the number of listings. This graph shows you the number of listings that come on, and the shape of it. This just happens to be data from 2019, which was the last normal year, I guess we will call it that.
Yeah.
But we will get back to this eventually. We've had some kind of glitches over the last 2 years, but the majority.
Seasonality didn't apply.
Right, but we'll get back to it. This first bar here, I should use this. Right, this here is, of course, the so-called spring market people talk about. It's when the majority of homes come on the market and sell. Here we are in September. This is the fall market. As you can see, it's much shorter. A lot less homes come on the market. And once we're now kind of mid-October, perhaps the end of October, depending on the weather, it will begin to slow down completely with, guess what, the winter as it arrives. And throughout this, there are good times to sell and bad times to sell, or not as good times to sell. For example, early spring is a great time to sell because there are very few homes on the market, because most sellers are thinking, oh, wait until the garden looks nice, there's no snow. They'll kind of come on in that May time frame. But the buyers are out in force. They've spent the winter thinking about where they're going to move to next year. And so here we are, next year arrives, and there's not too much snow, and the clear blue skies arrive, a little bit cold, but the clear blue skies arrive, and the buyers come out. So a very good time to come on the market is that early spring time frame.
Before mid-April.
Right.
Before mid-April.
Once you get to May, June, there are a lot of sellers on the market. So now you're putting sellers putting themselves at something of a disadvantage. Not so much this year, of course, but in general, there's a lot more sellers on the market. And many of the buyers have already bought. Because the further you come on in the season, so the buyers have already bought. So early spring is a great time to come on the market. Middle of the spring market, not so much. September is a good time to come on as well. Well, take a step back. The reason July is kind of the end of the spring market is the school system, because it takes about 6 weeks to buy a home, and so by the time you've bought at the end of July, you've got just mid to end of July, you've just about got enough time to register the children in the school system. And that's why August vacations, and you've missed. Now you come into September, October, perhaps buyers are not interested in the school system yet. Maybe they're already in the town, they're moving from home to home in the town. So another good time to come on the market, it's kind of early, where we are right now actually. So that's the kind of seasonality, and as you're thinking, the reason this is important if you're buying and selling is to look at this graph and kind of talk it out, because there are good times to buy and there are good times to sell. And so you want to put yourself in a position where if you're looking to sell and also buy in another town, it's a great time to buy, but also a great time to sell as well as a great time to buy. So there's a lot going on in terms of timing a buy and a sell, all driven by the seasonality that you see in this graph here.
And for an in-depth explanation of seasonality, we have a Selling Essentials video series on our website. And seasonality, we go into depth in that. So that's video series, Selling Essentials, general seasonality.
Good plug.
There's about 100 odd videos in there, so there's a whole lot in there.
There is a perennial question that comes up in many towns. Is my home a teardown? And by that, the builders are out there talking to homeowners, saying, I think your home is a teardown. The idea is they tear them down and they build a new construction home. So there's a question that many potential sellers have, and is my home actually a teardown? Is it really a teardown? And it's interesting to look at the definition, if you like, of when a home is actually a teardown. And it's where the land value is higher than what a home buyer would pay. Again, sure, if you're on a very large piece of land with a very small home, chances are the land is worth more than the home. But remember what we just said about buyer demand is driving the market. So it's quite rare for home buyer value to be greater than the land value. It has to be a very specific situation. And it really is literally, you've got a relatively large piece of land with a very small home on it in a good area, and this may well be true. The vast majority of cases, or in the vast majority of cases, home buyers would pay more than the builders will. Right? And that's important to understand. And unfortunately, there's some not so good things going on here, because who's telling you that it's actually a teardown? Well, clearly the builders are, because it's in their interest to buy the home as a teardown so they can build a new construction home. It's kind of transparent. But when they say we'll pay top dollar for your home, will they actually? Well, they don't have to. If there's no competition, why would they?
We can answer that one easily.
Yeah, no, not really, right? That's sort of obvious. Perhaps less obvious is when an agent says, "I think your home might be a teardown. Let me introduce you to a builder that I know. You guys sort out the price. I think it's the best thing for you.
And you don't have to pay me as the agent."
So there's something going on there that's worth understanding. And it really comes down to who the agent actually works for, because the way agents get paid is they get paid as a percentage of the value of the home that they sell. Now, imagine you're talking a teardown. In many of the towns around here, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 would be the value of the teardown. The new construction home would be 3 times that. So $2 million, let's say, $1.5 million. And so clearly there's more commission to be made out of a new construction than there is out of a small cape, if you put it that way. And so in many cases the agents are not necessarily working for the home seller here. They're actually working for the builder, because it's in their best interest to actually for you to sell, for the home to be sold to a builder, so that they can get the commission based on the new construction home that's created.
Because the builder, that's the way the
And there's a
builders.
commitment there, I take it.
There is a
They're not
commitment
going to
between.
walk away from you.
Right. There's a commitment between the builder and the
Yeah,
right, exactly.
Yeah.
So
And people don't realize that. That's
Yeah.
the biggest challenge. People
Right.
don't realize that when an agent comes in and tells you that a builder, I've got a great builder, he'll give you a great price. Well, the agent's looking at their pocket and how much money they can make, because the builder will use them to sell the more
beautiful
expensive
new
new
thing.
construction.
that's right. Yeah. So there's a little bit going on there, and we wanted to kind of put that out there so that there's some transparency in terms of today's home sellers understanding exactly what's going on.
Especially, excuse me, but I think that what's happening is builders and agents who work for them are putting letters in their mailboxes, and just sort of, people don't know what to make of it, except, oh my God, there could be something here. And
Maybe they'll get 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, lots of builders want to buy my home.
Yeah, and they're going to give me lots of money.
But not necessarily the case. Here's an example, actually. This was a home that we went in, as you can see. It was in a bit of a mess. Now, you would look at that home and think, maybe that is a teardown. It's a mess. I don't know what other way to put it, really.
And the seller thought it was a teardown too.
Right. So when you go through the numbers, it turns out that the maximum a builder would offer for that home, it was quite an in-demand lot, if you like, was about $770,000, so almost $800,000. it was smartened up, and that's a large number at $20,000. In the end, I believe you had to stop the seller
He wanted to keep on
spending any more
spending
money.
We said, no, stop, you've done enough, because the buyers will respond really well with what you've done.
Right.
And he had gotten builder quotes before even talking to us. So that was where the 770 came from.
Right. So in the end, after the smartening up, listed for $839. Here's the results. Bear in mind, this is a buyer's market. 7 offers, sold for $900,000. So about well over $100,000 more than they would have got by selling to a builder. So there's a kind of a simple example, a real life example, if you like, where a home that was a bit of a mess converted into this. But if you look at this, the stove is the same stove. The dishwasher is the same dishwasher.
The counter's the same counter.
The
cabinets are the same cabinets.
We'll talk more about this. Danny and Rachel will talk more about what this preparation is about. But there's nothing structural here. It's all cosmetic, appealing to today's buyers, and that was the result of that exercise. Here's another one. Similar story. As you can see, it needed some, in this case, this is an outside photograph, needed some work, smartened up. Guess what? A nice increase for the seller over what a builder would pay. This one, the builders were looking to offer about $550, so small, less money in terms of this. But exactly the same situation arising. More was spent on this home. It was an estate sale. Some work needed to be done to the home. But still, a sizable increase for the estate in terms of doing that. So it's often not the case, and we give these two examples here. This one and this one, because they look like they could actually be a teardown, but in the reality is that they actually weren't. So that's I wanted to kind of bring that out there in terms of, is a home a teardown, is it not? So. Because we've seen this so often, we came up with the buyer or builder program. The idea here is we will give you a CMA, so essentially tell you...
CMA is?
Market analysis.
CMA?
Sorry,
yes.
I thought I used the term before. A market analysis, you're right, I called it that before. A market analysis that tells you what a home buyer would pay. As well as that, we will talk to some builders and say, so what would you offer for this home? And now you have those two numbers. You, the home seller, can make that decision. If they're pretty close, maybe you do sell to a builder. Most of the time, almost always, a home buyer would pay more than a builder would. But the reason we put this program together is we wanted to get both of those two pieces of information out there.
Can you be objective on that, or if you have a deal with a builder?
Oh yeah. No, it's.
Do we work
You're
with builders?
representing the seller, but we talked about relationships with
Right.
builders.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So there's only been one time where the seller decided, I think the seller decided that he wanted to sell. He wanted to sell to the buyers, and then we started getting quotes made and everything. And after a week, he said, "Okay, stop. No, stop. This is too much work. I want to sell to a builder." So that was the only time the answer was selling to a builder,
Right.
and that was because the seller chose.
But can we be objective?
Oh yeah.
What's the reason we came up with this is we saw this too often. Right? We saw homes like this being sold to builders for $550 way too often, and that to us was wrong. Because there was an awful lot of money in this case, over $130,000 left on the table for the seller, and we saw it way too often, and that's why we decided, enough's enough. Let's put this in place and let's be objective. Let's give today's sellers exactly the information that they require to allow them to make the decision. If the numbers are pretty close, maybe it's easier to sell to a builder, and that's fine. Most of the time, the numbers are much further apart, that it becomes almost always, except for this one case, that the buyer number is. So it was the inequity, if you like, of this that drove us to do this. So can we be objective? Absolutely. This was because most of the time, it isn't this, is actually it's the
Because
buyer.
what was happening was I would go and see people and give them a market analysis as if they're selling to a buyer. And I wasn't talking the builder option, whereas most agents do talk the builder option. I wasn't talking the builder option. And then I'd hear, 6 months or 3 months later, they're selling to a builder because a builder came in after me and said, yeah, now this is going to be easy, and not really giving them all of the information, and they were being influenced to make a poor decision because of the timing of who went to see them at the time, if that makes sense. So giving the two pieces of information at the same time, now they're not being influenced by anyone else, and they can make a value decision based on data.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yep. Oh.
And for Rachel, isn't it?
Well,
Soon?
I think you do this slide, and then
Okay.
Rachel
Then we'll
takes
hand over
over
Rachel.
on to the next
Okay.
one.
So, we've now almost got back to normal. Here we are towards the end of 2021 in terms of the buying and selling process. In 2020, we learned how to do it all virtually. Now, as we come into 2021, including doing masterclasses and so on, now as we come into 2021, things are beginning to get back to normal, but not quite. But much of it is sort of back to where we were. Fewer open houses. One of the reasons with this, and perhaps we'll get back into this with Delta and so on, is that buyers don't necessarily want to be in very crowded open houses. If I think back to 2019, you could have 100 groups through a home. And it was, yeah. And we did them because it was kind of the norm, but you can lose buyers in doing that.
Now.
If you try and gate people coming into an open house so everybody gets 10 minutes, then you end up with a long queue going down the street. Which, guess what? Buyers get bored, they want to go to another one. So, fewer open houses. Where most buyers are active today is in terms of making private showings. They will do an awful lot of the work virtually on the computer before they even go and see it. They'll look at everything about the home, the photos, the 3D tour, the videos, all of that, and then they'll say, right, these are the 3 homes I want to see out of the 10 on the market, and they'll make private showings to see those, because those private showings are not overlapping with other buyer groups. So it's definitely beneficial to the buyers to do that. And so they get their 20 minutes in the home with no other buyers there, so they're not worried about how many groups are in the room. But this is a shift. It used to be, go to open houses, why not? What else would I do on a Saturday? Now it's, okay, maybe not so much. I'm going to look at everything virtually, and then I'm going to make a private showing on a Saturday or a Sunday. So that's a little different from where we are.
The key thing with that, though, too, is private showings are serious buyers. They are serious buyers.
They've done the homework first.
They have an agent. They are ready to buy today. They're not at an open house with the looky-loos and the neighbours and things like this. They are serious buyers, and it gives us a very good idea of how attractive the home is to the serious buyers. And for instance, one of the homes that we bought on this weekend had 70 private showings.
Wow.
In 4 days. We knew it was going to have a lot of offers because there are so many buyers, serious buyers. Because if you're thinking about buying in 12 months' time, you don't have an agent, you're not working with an agent, you're just going to an open house. Someone who's ready to buy today, they have an agent. So they're the serious buyers, and when they walk in the door, oh wow!
There's nobody else there.
And there's nobody else there. They can feel the home. They get a visceral feel as they walk in the door. Whereas when we're seeing much higher prices with private showings, with the way that the buyers are seeing houses now.
Feature sheets seem to be going the same way of menus. If you've been to a restaurant lately, We don't get menus anymore, although we did the other day.
We did last
We did
night,
last
yeah,
night,
we
yes, we
did.
did last night. Now you get a code and you've got to use your phone and do it on your phone. But
Which
kind
I'm
of,
not comfortable with, but
yeah,
that's okay.
the phone is too small. I need something bigger than that. But that's kind of the way feature sheets are going too. But key thing is that all the marketing has to be virtual, because that's how the serious buyers are beginning to make that initial decision. With everything, video, 3D tools, websites, floor plans, and so on.
What's technically a feature sheet? Just the highlights of the key.
That's true, yes. The highlights of the
things
home.
about
I'll
the
go and
property.
get one.
Yeah, the
I think
highlights
we've
of the
got
home,
some.
yeah.
Oh, thank you. I think we've got some out there.
Yeah, there's probably lots out there, yes. Just the highlights of the home. In terms of closings, it used to be everybody got around the table and they did their thing. Not so much anymore. Sellers can do it, most of it, or can do all of it remotely. Buyers have to be around a table, but it's usually just one or two buyers and the attorney. So we've moved a little bit away from everything being virtual, but it's definitely not everybody around the table. So a little bit different as we're in 2021 than we were in 19. Getting back to the norm. I think, though, my prediction is that we won't get back to those really, really busy open houses. I hope not, anyway. 100 people through an open house. It was
Bedlam.
yes.
And people don't get a good fit. If you've got 100 different people coming into a home in a 2-hour time period, you've got masses of people coming in, and the serious buyers are walking in the door and they're just, and they don't get a good feel for the home because they're dodging other people and things. And that's the key thing, is for the buyers to have a really good feel for the home, and to feel as, and even to just be able to sit down on the sofa for 5 minutes and just look around and imagine themselves living in the home. They
That's
can't
right.
do that when there's
No,
30
and the
other
size of the home gets
Yeah,
affected, I
that's
would think,
exactly right.
with crowds.
So we believe we won't get back to just doing open houses, because, as I sort of said before, we're seeing much higher prices for homes where private showings are key.
Rachel.
Miss Rachel.
Okay, so are you going to push the thing for me?
No, you
Okay, so just show me which button to push.
The big white one.
Yes, okay.
The big white
so,
one.
So the beauty of doing these on a regular basis is that I like to see that the content, we continue to tweak it, and we continue to really try to get to the heart of what we want to share with you, because we know we only have a limited time here. So I'm going to talk a little bit about who are today's buyers. Today's buyers really want move-in ready. So what does that mean? Actually, so Marcus gave me this slide that things are changing a little bit. So what we've noticed, so this is going back to the census of 2015, and it basically looking at all the different age groups. And what we've noticed, especially in today's very competitive markets, like take in Arlington, is that you've got two groups of buyers that are really vying for the homes, the inventory in Arlington. And the two groups are highlighted. It's the baby boomers, the 50 to the 59 age range, who are looking to downsize, potentially where they've been living no longer is meeting their needs, or they want a different type of
A smaller home.
a smaller home. They want to be in a different town. But at the same time, the other group of buyers who also are competing for those homes are the first-time home buyers. People who have been living at home, saving their money. They're really excited about buying that first home. So you have two groups vying for the same types of homes. When it comes right down to it, though, these first-time home buyers really have some characteristics that stand out. And so let's look at a little bit of who those people are. After buying their home, they don't have money left to repair and update, and they don't know how to. So they really are looking for a home that you, the seller, have done some of the things to bring the home up to looking more like a new construction or a more current home.
Move-in ready.
Yeah, thank you, move-in ready. So they just want to know who to call to do the work.
They don't know who to call. That's part of the challenge. They don't know who to call, because
And my role when I'm helping the buyers is to help them know who to call and to help them feel grounded, thanks, Danny. So that when I do take them to a home, and maybe it's your home, and your home has so many pluses for it, but then there's some things that they think, oh my gosh, it's going to cost so much money to upgrade that bathroom, or to change out some tile, or to upgrade a vanity. And my role is, as I'm looking and working with different buyers, to help them understand that they can get that move-in ready look. But you, the seller, if you can do that ahead of time, it's going to work in your favor.
Because not many agents are like you, knowing how to do that and giving that advice. A lot of agents just let their buyers wander through open houses and don't give them advice on this would be a good buy to buy.
Which is where it's really wonderful that helping both buyers and sellers. So here, looking at it from the standpoint of a seller, your buyers want a move-in ready home that is fresh, or it's a home that they can invest in, and that typically is the home that you have to look past the things that the seller wasn't in a position to do, and that I can help ground them and just say, look, you put in a certain amount of money into this home, that home's going to continue to appreciate because the location, which is something you can't change, is a really great feature about the home.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, if they can't get a home that's already move-in ready, or a home that they have to, or if it's a home that they have to invest in, they're going to want to look for a discount. And that's typically what happens there. Is if it's a home that's been sitting for a while, then they think maybe they can get a discount. But the goal for us when working with you, the seller, is to make sure that that doesn't happen and your house doesn't sit, because we really want you to get top dollar. Understanding the impact of the internet on real estate. So Danny, you can help me with this as well.
Sure.
We recognize that the way buyers are looking for homes these days is they have so many tools at their fingertips, especially on their phone, the Redfin app and the Trulia app and the MA Properties app, the Zillow. There's so many different ways that they can be looking to search for a home, right? We know that. It can really actually be overwhelming. The fun wears off pretty quickly. So typically, here are ways that we find that buyers are getting their information. Perhaps they're getting it through the the market review that we're sending to a town that we do a lot of business in, and that's what this is an example of. They're going to a website and they're checking out to see what Zillow's estimate is of that house. We do 3D tours for all of the homes that we bring on the market.
But they also get information from the town websites, like permitting information, the assessors database. There's so much information out there where buyers can get information from.
In fact, they're taking much more of an initiative, which is really interesting. So they're going to look at all those things. They're looking at what sellers paid for the house when the sellers first bought the house.
I know.
They're busy trying to rationalize whether or not the price that they may have to pay for the house is really too high or not. And that's something where we really help educate them. Okay, so these are all the different ways that our buyers today are being educated about the real estate market. I already mentioned it. You can see that there's so many tools that are at their fingertips.
But it's also, too, that week after week they're going to houses in their price range in the town that they're looking for. So they know all of the $750,000 homes in a certain town that have been on the market in the last 4 months, because that's how long they've been looking. So they are week after week after week looking for a home in their price range. So this is where we say, when you come on the market overpriced, it's the killer, because the buyers know. And that, if it's priced too high, then they won't even come and have a look at it, because
buyers are very savvy and they're smart these days. And yet we also know, and it was a great example when you mentioned that one of our recent listings had 14 offers on it. Once that buyer wants that home, once they've fallen in love with your home, that's beautiful, because then they're going to do whatever it takes. Write that offer with the great terms. Do the best to come up with the best possible price.
Because somebody else wants it. As soon as somebody else wants a home that they're interested in, and they've started imagining where their furniture would go in the home when they're writing their offer, and somebody else wants my home, how much do I have to pay to get my home? So they're willing to then go away.
It's amazing. Okay, I think I'm turning this over to you. Am I doing this?
Yeah.
I'm turning it over to you. Here we
Keep
go.
going there. Yeah.
So it's critical to know the big questions to ask, to know what is happening and why. So let's see where we're at.
Yep.
And to trust the people who represent you. So I think I turn it over to you.
Okay, I'll see.
Let's see.
Because you don't know what you because what you know or don't know will impact your outcome. So where I'm taking over is preparation. Preparation is the number 2 critical component. The first one, just to go over, was smart decisions, trying to understand about the market, what's happening in the market. Number 2 is preparation, as Rachel was saying. Buyers want move-in ready. Well, what do we mean by that? Why is that important? So this is real data. This is 2020 data for a town around here. And this is a town that's a very, very strong town. So if you have a look at this graph, This is the sale price to original list price ratio. There's homes, this shows that this is I've forgotten what it's called, a bell curve. There were some homes that year that sold for about 130% over asking. There are some homes that sold for just under 80% of asking. But when you look at this, the key part is in a very, very strong market, 2020, 49% of the homes sold in that town sold for below the asking price. And I should point out, this is Lexington data. Lexington is a strong town, but 49% of the homes that came on the market sold for below the asking price. Now, why that is, there's a few reasons. Again, overpricing, that's a key one. Not preparing the home for the market so that when the buyers walk in, there's things that are broken, there's rotted wood outside, there's all different sorts of things that the buyers think, I've got to spend money, I don't have any more money, this house is already going to sell for more than I can afford, I can't spend that sort of money on it. So they don't make an offer. Or it's a lack of marketing on the home, because some agents will bring a home on the market with 10 photos. That's it. That's the sum total of the marketing that they do for a home. Because the market is really strong, I don't need to spend money to market the home because it'll sell itself. But what the marketing does is sell the home for more money. That's what the marketing does as well. So there's a whole lot of key components here, which is why we're talking about this. This is the 5 keys to maximize your sales price. Just reminded, where are we? We're at the 5 keys to maximize your sales price. This is really important. And part of this is preparation. It's also important to understand that the longer a home is on the market, the lower the price will be obtained. If we look at the sale price to list price ratio again, based on days on the market, if you see here, we're talking about 100% sale price to list price ratio. That is talking about, let's say a home comes on the market for $700,000 and sells for $700,000. That's 100% sale price to list price ratio. But if you have a look at this 100 line, and the first weekend or the first 10 days that the home's on the market is where you'll most likely see getting over 100%. But look what happens the longer the home's on the market. Now there are a couple of outliers here. They were new construction, where as the home was finally built, a basement was finished out. So it sold for over the asking price because the buyers wanted more with that. So it's really important to just see what the trend line shows you. The longer it's on the market, the lower the price you'll get. So this is where we sort of say overpricing and not getting that attention in the first weekend will end up getting a lower price than what you would otherwise. But when we talk about preparation, there's a few options available. So you can do nothing. You don't have to do anything to a home. There are still buyers for homes where there's a do nothing. Buyers and developers will compete for those homes as well. There was a home 2 years ago in a very, very desirable area of town, and 14 builders competed for the home. So the builders compete for it. They pay way more than they have to, or that they would normally if it was just them negotiating with the seller. But when they compete, they pay way more. They're willing to pay way more. Rachel, okay.
Just say goodbye from me.
I was just going to say you're doing staging, but it looks like I'm doing staging. Okay, bye.
But I can do it next time. I'd love to do it next time. Well, let's see. Let's see where you're at.
So one of the options is do nothing. Do nothing. Buyers and developers compete. You can do minor cleanups and cosmetic improvements. buyers who want move-in ready, paint will give you the highest return on investment, period. Paint. And we'll give you some examples and show you some before and afters in a little bit. You can do updates, but you've got to spend your money wisely. And it's a graduated scale from cosmetic to renovations, and it's dependent on your time frame for moving. For instance, we typically tell people, don't renovate your bathroom, don't renovate your kitchen, unless you're going to be in the home for at least 2 years and you can get the benefit of those updates as well. Then that's okay. But don't do those just to sell. Now, I do have to say, we've broken our own rule and our own advice, in that a home that we're bringing on the market tomorrow, because our tenants left at the end of July, August is typically not a fantastic time to come on the market. So we took that time to do some renovations, because we will get the return on it, and the home was vacant. We're not having to live through doing the work, that sort of things. So where I'm going with that is it depends, but typically renovations are not necessary. Here's some examples, I think. Oh, no, not yet. Next. No one answer fits all. Did I just mention that? And don't do major renovations unless you'll be in the home for 2 or plus years. The high return on investment activities are typically not high dollar activities. Paint is the best. We'll give you advice on which are the highest return on investment activities. We'll also give you advice on which activities not to do, and what priority order we would suggest. But the preparation services that we provide can range from providing contractor resources and
We do a lot of that.
assisting with getting quotes for work to being done. We can help coordinate the contractors, and we can help oversee the project in conjunction with the seller. But the key thing is each seller is different. Some sellers want to do it all themselves, and they want the names of people, and they'll organize it. That's fine. Other sellers, we coined this the interested observer, because one of our sellers, I think 2 years ago, said, I don't care what you do, I'll pay for it, I just want to be an interested observer, I don't want to do anything. We said, fine, cool. So interested observer, we like that.
So does that mean your commission is higher then? The more you
Oh
do,
no,
the higher
oh no,
the
we
commission.
don't charge for all of that. This is just part of getting you the highest price. We just organize with our contractors, get them in to get quotes so that you choose which quote to take, but then we can help organize them and tell them, we suggest what work needs to be done, so we'll get the same quote, the same scope of work with each contractor, and then we'll come in and check on a regular basis how they're doing. We'll answer questions for them, and we just oversee it and take it through. I mean, with that particular home, the interested observer one, we organised carpet replacement in one of the hallways. We painted some of the rooms. He had an appliance that was non-functional, so we organised someone to come in and repair the appliance. He was living in the home with his 3 boys, and the home was a bit messy, so we organised an organizer to come in and to work with him, for him to tell them what to do on what needs to be packed away and where to put it and those sorts of things. We organised a cleaner to come in, and so
And I think it's
And
things like
landscaping.
that are creating less stress for you, the seller. And knowing that we have relationships, because we've worked with different contractors or providers, builds trust to be able to say, this is a good person that you're gonna,
and we're continually monitoring those contractors. We, in the house that, well, I shouldn't say, I didn't have a great experience with one of the contractors we use. So guess what? He's not getting recommended anymore. So because to me, it's so important if we're recommending someone and they have an attitude or are difficult for a client, it's reflecting back on us.
Certainly, yes.
And I'm not going to do that. To me, I sort of thought if the contractor was being difficult with me, what are they doing to our clients? I mean, my goodness, no.
So we're getting the work from them.
Absolutely.
So we're always monitoring the people that we recommend. Here's an example of a home. This is the before. It's got wallpaper on the walls, everything like this. And then here's the difference with paint. Paint makes a huge difference. Just makes a huge difference. Here's another example. This is a home that we sold in Malden that had been a long-term rental. Yeah, the pink walls and the blue ceiling and the carpet that you didn't even want to walk on. And this was an estate sale, and we organized all of this for the seller. And you know, fresh paint and replacing the floors with a low-cost sheet vinyl in that instance, it just makes it feel so much fresher. And so the buyers walk in, and it wasn't expensive. The buyers walk in and they feel like, you know what, I can just wheel my suitcase in, unpack, and I don't have to do anything. The first example, the before, they're coming in overwhelmed as to what they have to do, and most of the time buyers will far inflate the cost that something will take to do. I once had a home where there was something like 5 or 6 different vivid wallpapers in the home, and I asked the seller to remove them and paint them. He wanted to do the work. And he got down to the last one, the last set of wallpaper, and it was in the living room and the dining room, and it was a subtle white stripe on the walls. And I thought, okay. And he was starting to say, I'm done. And I said, you know, I think we'll be okay with this. I think this won't bother too many people. So stop, you don't need to do any more. The house sat on the market, sat on the market, sat on the market. And about 3 or 4 weeks later, a couple walked in the front door, and they started looking at the wallpaper as they were making their way around the home. And I said, look, can I ask you a question? I told my seller he didn't need to take this wallpaper down. What's wrong with the wallpaper as far as you? What are you seeing? What's the issue? And they say, yeah, it's something my grandma'd have in her house. And I said, oh. Okay, well, it wouldn't cost much to remove. And the chap looked around. He was a young couple. He looked around in the living room and dining room, and he said, yeah, this would probably cost me $20,000 to take down. Ooh. And I said, no, you could do it for less than $2,000 max. And he looked at me and he said, you're just trying to sell me the home. So when we say most buyers don't know the costs of things, they don't know the costs of things because a lot of them haven't needed to have that work done before, and they just imagine it's going to be far more than it actually is. So that's the benefit of having a move-in ready home, because as soon as they walk into a home and they see this,
oh my,
they're now taking $50,000 off how much they're going to pay for the home, because it's going to cost them that amount of money to do. Well, no, it's not. It's not going to cost them $50,000, but in their mind, it's going to cost them $50,000. So they're discounting.
It starts bargaining that isn't necessary, really, if you can avoid it.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Here's another one that painting cabinets does a huge amount. So this kitchen, we actually did get the sellers to replace the countertop because the countertops were different and they didn't quite extend over some cabinets and things like this. And this home was in a prime location where a little bit of extra money could be spent and getting a good return on it. But the cabinets, the key thing to notice here is the cabinets. They're exactly the same cabinets.
All painting.
In
That's
here,
amazing.
just paint there. And the laminate that was in the backsplash, that was painted too. It's important, if you're going to do work like this, that you look at what the final result is that you want. With the sellers of this home, I went to Home Depot with them to pick out stainless steel appliances. Now, you don't need to do expensive stainless steel because the buyers typically don't know what's an expensive brand versus a cheaper brand. So I went to Home Depot with them, and I think we were there for about 2 hours, and I was starting to run late to my next appointment. The only thing we had left, and there was a chap helping us, the only thing we had left was a microwave. And anyway, I sort of said to them, they're in good hands, you know, I've got to go, you know, I think you're okay now. And anyway, about a week later, I came to the home because if you notice in the before, there was a light fixture that wasn't actually over anything. So we were organising with an electrician to put in 2 pendant lights, and the electrician wanted to know where to put them. So I popped down to the house, and we're finished doing all of this. And there's a black microwave sitting on the counter at the center island. And I said, so what's this microwave here for? What is it? And they said, that's the microwave we bought. And I said, oh, it's black. And they said, yeah, it was on sale. I said, it's got to go back. We need stainless steel. So it is important to keep it consistent if you're doing some work like this.
So next time you use the slide, stainless steel cabinets, it should be stainless steel appliance.
You're right.
Okay.
Stainless steel appliances, not cabinets. Thank you.
Just a note.
Thank
45.
you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I didn't even notice that. Okay. But it was a minimal cost and a maximum impact.
Awesome.
Here's another one. A lot of people, I like wood cabinets. I like wood cabinets. The buyers don't.
Really?
The buyers don't. So this particular photo, this is the before, when the home was on the market with another agent in a strong market, unsold for 103 days.
Wow.
Then they called me in and I sort of said, I think we need to paint the kitchen cabinets.
Wow.
And I think we painted the mantle around a fireplace and 1 bathroom cabinet as well. We had competing offers on the home and sold it for way over asking price. But that's the same kitchen, just with paint on it.
Now that's interesting.
Yeah.
Styles do change and tastes can change. White seems to be in everywhere.
White is huge at the moment because
At
builders
the moment.
are doing white kitchen cabinets in new construction. So a buyer is coming in and looking
You've seen
at
a lot
this,
of white.
and they think, oh, this is a new kitchen. It feels newer to them. So that's the difference. So we had competing offers on it, just with some paint on the kitchen cabinets.
Oh my.
Here's another example. This is a home that I went in to see. They were just starting to do their final packing away things. And I sort of said, look, we really need to paint the kitchen cabinets. The home was in a very poor location. And I was concerned with the wood cabinets. The buyers would look online because they search online to work out what they're going to see, where they're going to, put their time efforts in. And with the wood cabinets, I was really worried that they wouldn't make the effort to come and see this home. So we painted the kitchen. That's all we did. The cabinets, same appliances, same counter, same everything, just with white cabinetry. And we had multiple offers on the home and sold it for way over asking price. And this was in a very poor location.
Wow.
But the buyers came in. It was a home on the steepest driveway I've ever
Big drawback.
Oh yeah, look, I'm a comfortable driver, and I wouldn't drive up the driveway. I would
Picture
always.
Winter.
Oh, winter.
Wet.
And
Scary.
I would park at the bottom of the street, like at the bottom of the hill, and I would walk up the stairs to get into the house. So my concern was, with the wood cabinetry, buyers would come along and, an open house, deciding whether they're going to, and they would park at the bottom of the street, look up at the house, and with wood, no, let's just keep it going. They wouldn't even bother coming in.
Well, with that wood, I'd say yes. And the quality of the cabinets doesn't match the quality of the picture before. But
Yep.
I don't know the actual quality of the ones before.
Yep.
But these don't look good.
No, they weren't. But with the white cabinetry, buyers would pull up, look at the photos, yeah, let's go and see it.
Interesting,
And
yeah.
we had competing offers. Here's another one. This had some torn up flooring. It had go in and paint, and there's the painted version. It's not just kitchens. These bathrooms, in a lot of homes, you have the older, vivid coloured tiles, wall tiles that were done. They can be painted.
Really?
They can be painted.
Come on.
Yep, we do it
Wow.
all the time. They can be painted. Benjamin Moore has sell a bonding primer, and the painters put the bonding primer on first and then normal paint, and there's the after.
I don't believe it.
Yep.
Wow.
But the difference with that is that the only thing that was different between the before and the after is paint. All of the fixtures are exactly the same. Oh, and the paint, the wallpaper taken down. But what happens is when a buyer comes to a home and sees this, they stand at the doorway and think, oh, we've got to
Thousands of
renovate.
dollars.
We've got to renovate this bathroom. When they come to the door in this one, okay,
Refreshing.
that's fresh and clean. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we can use this for 5 years before we even have to think about renovating. It makes a huge difference. Here's another one. It's not just the tiles, but it's the laminate cabinetry as well, because this was a home that we came in and painted the cabinets and painted the tiles and painted the wall tiles.
Wow.
Again, it's the buyers look at that and think,
Wow. What a difference.
oh, yeah, what a difference. Here's another one. The cabinetry and the tiles. We didn't do anything. I mean, you can still see the pink sinks and the floors. We don't do anything with the floors, but it feels fresh and clean, and the buyers jump at those. This is a funny story. This was a home that had been on the market for about 4 months with another agent in 2019 and not selling. And then the sellers got me in. They had a huge big kitchen, beautiful cherry cabinetry, and I loved it. But the buyers don't. If they want to sell, we needed to paint. And talked to the sellers about this, and they were a little worried about doing this. Well, they weren't a little worried, they were really worried, and they really didn't want to do it. And so okay, no problems. And then after about an hour or so of chatting about other things, the seller said, you know what, we're going to trust you, we'll paint the cabinets. I said, okay. And then a couple of days later, after the cabinets were painted, the seller called me and she said, I love how the kitchen looks. I was so happy with how it looks. I decided to do the master bathroom as well.
Oh, isn't that fascinating?
So she painted the master bathroom as well.
She changed her countertops too, or is it
Nope.
just the photo?
Just the photo, yeah. Just the photo. So she was so pleased with how it looked.
I mean, that's quite a house, if that's the bathroom.
Yes. Yep. It's not just the interior, though, that's important. For sale by this particular home was a for sale by owner. Then it was on the market for over a year with another agent. Then it was a for sale by owner again. So it had been on the market for over 2 and a bit years, not selling. Now, if you notice, there's purpley plum coloured trim, beige, sort of, and it sort of didn't look all that appealing. We came in and said, we need to paint the trim. And that's the same house, just with trim paint. Nothing else. We didn't paint the siding or anything. We painted the trim and the garage doors. And we did take down a couple of those plants at the front door. That home, we had competing offers and sold it for over the asking price.
Did
So
you have to plant the lawn, or did timing just change?
the
season
timing changed, yes, yeah. Because this was a listing photo.
Yes, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, that wasn't our listing photo. It was someone else's listing photo. And the timing changed. But the impact of paint
Certainly.
on the exterior is important too. So it's not just the inside, it's how does the house look from the street. Here's another one. This was a home, overgrown front.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, needed some work. My seller didn't really want to do anything. And then we sort of said, well, look, we'll come on the market your way. We'll try and sell it like this. And then if it doesn't sell, will you do it our way? Will you do it our way? And he said, yes, I will. Anyway, we didn't sell his way, which is, that's one of our listing photos. That's one of our listing photos.
My.
You can tell it doesn't feel good
Well,
because
a little bit could have been better. A lot would be much better. But
and here was it
dramatic.
when we did it our way. We got in with paint and we took down some of these larger trees at the front because that was limiting the light into the home as well.
Sure.
But look at that, you can't even tell there's a side entrance there.
No.
So that we had competing offers for and sold it for well over asking price again.
Did you change the color of the house? No.
No,
we
just painted it. Yeah, just painted it.
Yeah, very nice.
Now, number 3. Where is Rachel? She's gone. So I can do the staging section. But it's really important with staging that you wow the buyers when they walk in the front door. That's key to getting, that's another component to this. This is our truck. We actually have our own truck, our staging truck. Selling, this truck isn't staging your home, that's a bad move.
I see.
So, because our logo is Smart Moves Made Here, but that was a bad move if you're not using our truck. But it's more important to look at the components of statistical information of the importance of staging. 83% of buyer's agents said a staged home helped buyers visualize the property as a future home. Okay. They're imagining how they can be living in the home. That's really important. And I've got an example of one of those. If you remember the exterior one that needed painting, I'll show you a photo of it inside where the buyers they couldn't understand how they would live in the home and the power of staging with that as well. But 25% of buyer's agents said potential buyers increased their offer between 1 and 5% on a staged home. Now let's talk about that. What does that talk about in numbers? Let's say the home is...
You're going to put me on the spot now, aren't you?
No,
Okay.
I'm just looking at you. You're eating. Let's say the home is on the market for $1 million. And let's say the buyers increase their offer by 5%, 1 and 5% on a staged home. That's $50,000 just there.
Sure.
And 85% of homes surveyed were sold for 6 to 25% more than homes that were not staged. This is data that shows the impact of staging. It creates an emotional response from the buyer. As a buyer walks in the front door and they look around, oh, wow, I really like this house. They're paying more money for the home. Other agents charge for the service, or the seller has to pay the staging company directly. We do it as part of our services. There's no fee for it. We have, where we are doing this masterclass, we have a large 4,000 square foot office below us at the back of the building, and that's our furniture warehouse. That's where our stages work out of. That's where our trucks parked, all of that sort of stuff. And we do this as part of the services. There's no charge because it gets our sellers a higher price, and it sells the home quicker, and it's word of mouth. You were saying your sister used us.
Yes.
It's word of mouth. It's getting the highest price you can for a seller. It's all part of
As
what
part
we
of
do.
the staging, what if someone has too much furniture? I mean, do you actually move it out too and then stage your own beautiful stuff? Or
So that is a good question, because a lot of people have that concern. The majority of homes we stage are occupied homes. People live in them. Some homes they've moved out and we stage every room. But what we'll do is we'll go in, and part of staging is not just bringing furniture in, but it's suggesting furniture goes out or gets moved to a different area of the house because the more furniture you have in a home, the smaller it feels.
Of course, yeah.
So it's coming in and suggesting. Part of it, I think I've got this here. There you go. It's a consultation. Our staging manager goes in and suggests things that need to be done. Part of it's depersonalizing and decluttering. It's performed by our in-house professional staging team. The staging furniture and accessories are based on particular need. So if you've got a contemporary home, we'll bring in contemporary furniture or contemporary accents or contemporary accessories. If you've got a very traditional home, we've got about 16 or 17 housefuls of furniture down below us. So we've got much to Marcus's disgust.
That's a lot of furniture.
I'll say. But it's been a wonderful investment.
There you go. He's like, just like my wife.
My husband hates it when I go, I went
but look
shopping
at what
again.
it's done for us.
So it's based on a particular need of each home, but we'll recommend things to be done around the home to create that emotional wow factor, that thing with the buyers as they come in. In fact, 4 of the homes we bought on this weekend, actually only 1 was vacant. Home's coming on the market tomorrow. 2 are vacant. One's vacant. 2 are occupied.
They've moved out, so whatever's in there is your 4,000 square foot resource.
Yes.
I see.
Yep. In 2021, while the Delta variant, while COVID, we do ask that sellers aren't home while our stagers are in the home, just to protect the sellers and to protect the stagers. Although,
I'm sorry, you asked them to do what?
the seller just to go out for
Not
a couple
to
of
be there.
hours.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, while we're there. Just so that, and it means by the seller not being there when we're there to do the work, it means that it's a quicker time than the seller can come back, because
They'll start crying. I mean, I'm joking, but I know what you mean. They'll delay the whole process.
Right.
yes. Yes.
Yeah,
There you go.
basically.
Yes, they do. A lot.
So
My grandma, it hasn't been moved in decades.
Yeah. A funny story. I went with our stagers to a house about 4 or 5 years ago, and it took us half an hour to be able to put a cushion, a pillow cushion,
Oh my goodness.
on a sofa,
Oh, no.
with the discussion with the seller, and we just thought, okay,
Yeah, we're done.
This kid-
your home is beautiful. We don't need to do anything more here,
Yeah,
because it was.
It wasn't going to work. Yeah.
But that's okay, because it,
It's
someone's-
not always a match. I
Yeah.
mean,
So staging. Here's an example. Here's a before. It was on the market for 206 days.
Wow.
Unsold with another agent. Now, if you're walking in that door at the front door, and you've got a room here, what is it?
You're right. What would I do with that? Where's
Don't
my
know.
idea? Idea generation.
That's exactly right.
Got it.
It was the dining room.
Oh.
So bringing in furniture, we had competing offers on this home that was priced at $2,225,000.
Well.
We had competing offers. You'd get that with just.
And it sat there for 206 days before?
Yes. Yep. Here's another one. This is the same home. That's a nice living room, but it doesn't really feel very warm and comforting.
No.
Here's the living room.
Yes.
With furniture in it.
Mm-hmm.
This one is an example of a contemporary style ranch that we sold last year. Now, a buyer walking through that is going to think,
What is that?
What is that?
Yeah.
It's the dining room.
Oh, those are shelves. Oh.
Yes, so it's all about evoking the imagination of the buyer as they're walking through. Because when there's no furniture in a room, buyers have no idea what that room could be used for. Giving them furniture in it tells them exactly what the room is for. Here's another one. I mean, this is a beautiful house. But it looks a lot better with furniture. Looks a lot better. Here's that home that we mentioned, the one in Malden, that was the long-term rental. This was the smartened up version of it. It had paint and the flooring.
That was the pink walls and blue ceiling?
That's right.
Yeah,
Actually, that was
lovely.
another room.
Oh, excuse me, but the same
This
thing.
is the
Same
same
idea.
house.
Yeah.
Same house. And that looks fantastic compared to what it was. But now look at it.
Yes, yeah, much better.
You know, the buyer's going to walk in there, and they did, and just say, oh wow, I want to live in this house, because they could imagine how their furniture would look. It's even new construction it's useful for. New construction, this is an example of a before photo with new construction. They weren't quite finished yet, but it was one of the photos we took so that our stagers could work out what rooms, you know, what the dimensions were, what the finishes in the room were. And here's the same room with furniture in it.
Happy room.
Yeah,
Very nice.
I mean, it feels so much better. This is the Fizbo, the one that had the paint on the outside.
Oh, yes.
This was a photo that they had, and there was a table in the middle of the room. Well, you know, it looks better with that. This is a key one though. This is the same for sale by owner house. Now, at the front there, that was the living room, because the front door is just behind here. This middle room was the dining room.
Oh.
The buyers walk through and think, I don't know what that
to do with
room
that.
would be for. Now, when a buyer walks through a home and they're sort of, I don't understand how I would use this house. I don't understand how I would use this room. Furniture helps because we staged the front room as the living room, the middle room as the dining room, and this last room is the pre or post dinner drinks room.
Oh, interesting.
So now, okay, I can do that. Oh yeah, this is good.
You even named it. Yeah, that's good.
So that's the impact of staging, especially in a vacant home. Marcus, they've been hearing me talking for a
too
long
much.
time. It's yours,
Okay.
but that was Rachel's section.
That's okay. That's okay.
All right.
So, number 4. Almost there.
Number 4.
Almost
Yes.
there. Marketing. Does marketing matter? Well, yes it does. And as we mentioned when we were talking about how we sell in 2021, everything's done virtually. If you've got it looks poor, then the buyers are not going to make that private showing. And if we're going to get less showings, then inevitably that means less offers, right? And a lower price. And we've tracked this. There's a direct correlation between how many times they look at the website, the 3D tour, and how many private showings. unsurprisingly. And back to our example of 70 private showings of the house this weekend, a direct correlation between private showings and offers. And so having the marketing in place is key, because that's what gets buyers in the door, right? There is this impression that it's a strong market, I don't need to do anything. Take a few photos, you're off and running. And that's absolutely not the case. Perhaps it will sell, but will it sell for the highest price? I mean, that's the key. And so having all of these pieces in place is absolutely key. Here's an example of a home listed for $869, went under agreement straight away.
And after zero
days
on the market.
And guess what? It sold for $869. Here we are in one of the strongest sellers market we've seen anyway in our 15 years in the business. It's just, it's phenomenal, and yet here we go. This home clearly wasn't exposed to the market, and the prices show that. Right? It shows it clearly that the wrong thing was done here. Sure, it sold quickly, but it would have sold almost as quickly. Within 3 to 4 days, it would have got an awful lot more money. Yep. That's for sure. So, given that there's a direct correlation between the number of viewings of 3D Tour and so on, and the number of private showings, and the price, we want to make sure that our sellers get to see that. So we put together an app for this, no surprise. Lots of information on the home. When this is before it comes on the market, so you know exactly what's happening. There's no surprises. What's happening today? What's the next thing that's going to happen? But here we are on the market, and here we have day by day how many people viewed, in this case, the 3D Tour. These numbers, fairly good prediction that this home is going to sell well. And so having this information is key for today's sellers, so they know exactly what's going on, no surprises, but also how is their home performing in the market. So that's key.
And this is what you provide to your clients.
Yes, correct.
As you're going forward in the process.
Yes,
oh, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, the different components of the marketing. Let's talk about each of these in turn. Photos, videos, and 3D Tour. I always like this one. Professional photography sells the home. Here's a somewhat contemporary home here, and then 18, because we're listing
it's
it again.
Village Colonial. Yeah, it's funny,
This one
that
here is
photo on the
beautiful.
right-hand side. We sold it about 5 years ago, and we didn't work with the buyers, but the buyers wanted us to sell it a couple of years later because we knew the house. And funnily enough, we sold at that time. We didn't work with the buyers. We were just listing agents, because we're not dual agents. We only work with...
I was going to ask you that.
Yep,
Okay.
we only work with the sellers when we're selling a home. But the buyers have wanted us to sell the home again.
Yes, yeah.
So we're going to be selling it for the third time.
There we
It's
go.
coming on the market the 1st of October.
1st of October.
1st of October.
2
Is
weeks.
this a Lexington property?
Yes, it is.
This one
yeah.
is, yes. It's a beautiful old home, because many sellers living in 18 something, I forget.
I think it's in 1890.
Yeah.
Yes.
Will buyers like my home? But actually, they photograph beautifully.
Yes, yeah.
They're always beautiful, the older homes. So, good photographs.
Yes.
Let's play with some bad ones, shall we? It's always good fun to do this. These are not our photographs. Let me say that up front. Now, same kitchen. Just, the range hood, yep, that's the same range hood. The light's the same. And if you look at the poor one on the left-hand side here, of course, you can see that actually they've done some staging on it.
They
too.
tried, yeah.
They tried. They definitely tried. What let that whole thing down was the photography. And remember what I said previously. Buyers are going to make a decision whether to make a private showing or not based on this. All right. And so it really does make a difference having good quality photographs, because it is the first thing that a potential buyer sees. And potentially, if they're bad photographs, the last thing they look at.
And good staging, versus,
Right.
too much
Absolutely.
tchotchke,
Too much,
whatever
yeah,
is
too
out
much,
there,
yep. Other people use the word tchotchkes.
Yes.
I thought it was. I had no.
No, it's universal. I
Thank
don't know.
you. Church keys,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I had no idea what that word meant.
Even those, the artwork up on the cleaner
Yes.
wall,
Yep, cleaner
and
wall.
the whole
Yep.
thing.
Yep.
I mean, clearly.
This must be some quite high ceiling. I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't
The
it?
top cabinets already look tall, but
Right.
You can't tell.
maybe it's an illusion.
Here
But
you can't tell.
tell with this one.
Here
No.
you definitely can tell.
Yeah,
It looks like a much bigger space. I mean,
Sure.
this shows the space to its full potential.
Exactly.
Here's an interesting one. This is one of our photographs of a kitchen, and this is a listing. If you can see, it's actually out of focus.
Yes.
It's blurry.
Blurry.
Here's another one. I mean, clearly that lacks a little bit of staging, if nothing else. But again, it's a blurry photograph.
Taken with an iPhone,
Yeah,
moving their
probably.
iPhone around.
One
I
of the
think.
top 10 agents in the area. This is
Yep.
pretty scary. You know,
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah.
scary. This is another one out of focus.
I rather like the
the
tissues.
Kleenex.
The Kleenex. I rather like the Kleenex.
Yeah, that's
Right,
good.
that's pretty good, isn't it?
Lovely.
Look at that one. This is one of the top 10 agents. These are real listing photos.
They were not focused. They were selling too many and didn't care.
They didn't care.
Everything's just
Look
come
at
on
this
in
one.
and
Look
buy.
at this one. This one only sold 2 months ago.
Oh my, that's a shame.
But the funny thing is, the thing that staggers me is how are the sellers putting up with that? How is
that? No, that's the astounding thing. Unless the seller's in California and they just say, do what you have to do.
Maybe they were.
This
Yes.
is.
Well, that's
Why is
disrespectful
the seller
of
putting
what's-
up with that sort of
Yeah.
Well, that's a
You're
good
right.
question.
stuff?
So, photographed key, clearly,
Yes.
right?
Uh-huh.
So if you think about the way we learn how to do anything today, if we look at anything, we're always going to expect a video, YouTube, number
Yes,
one or number two
yes.
website. And so it's key that when it comes to real estate, we need videos too. And we do an array of different videos for our home, depending on what platform we're looking at. We do a walkthrough of the home. Gives you a little bit more than the photographs. Gives you a bit more of a visceral feel, perhaps.
Yep.
Perhaps one way to describe
Yep.
it. Than you would from photographs. That's key. Top reasons you love this home.
Top 5 reasons.
Top 5 reasons you love this home. Buyers, like that. Why?
You
is
mean
it?
it'll make them go look at that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Here we strap a GoPro to our dog and we have him run around the home.
How cute
Works
is that?
great on social media.
Oh my
That's the
goodness.
key. So, an array of different videos showcasing the home, designed for specific platforms. That's key in terms of videos.
This aerial view is with a
Yes, this was done with a drone. This is
That was a home we sold earlier this year for
Carlisle.
3.9.
in Carlisle. It's a beautiful home.
Yeah.
The only way to do it justice really was
You have to go up.
Yeah, it was to go up. Yes,
Yes,
it was the only way to kind of put the whole. It's almost like an estate, because what you don't see even from this one is that in the lower right hand corner there was a gym, and the garage was an extra garage was down there, so it was even bigger than
Big property.
right.
Mm.
Exactly. And the idea here is what we were doing with this one was giving people an idea of what it would be like to live in the home, and that was that was the idea there. But lots of different videos depending on what it is that we're trying to do. That's all very well, photographs and video, but kind of we're the director. We move people around from room to room. What's much more interesting and far more useful for today's buyers is the 3D tour.
Yep.
I can talk about it.
Some of them are very confusing to use, so I may go on your listings and take a look at that. Some of them are just, how do you get in that room, and how do you?
Yeah.
Marcus, maybe I'll talk to it for a minute.
Okay.
Can you get it on
So I
the
can do
screen?
that. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, because it's really powerful, the 3D tour. Because a lot of times the buyers have to make a decision pretty quickly on, do they want to buy the home? And they might be in to see the home for half an hour, and then at 2 o'clock in the morning they can't sleep because they're worried about, was there a linen closet in the,
Oh,
so rather than stress about that, they just go onto the website And
Sneak
this
peek.
is one that
Ooh.
we're bringing on
Sneak peek
tomorrow.
of one that's coming on tomorrow.
Sunset.
But excuse me while I scoot to the bottom, because I want
Surely.
to show you specifically the 3D tour.
Oh, Sunset Road.
You saw it here first.
Yeah.
So the idea here is that the potential buyer, be they here in Massachusetts or wherever for cares, right, can walk around the home
As if they're in the home.
as if they're in the home. So
And you can turn around, you can look up the ceiling, you can look up
we'll take a look
go
at
to the
Oh,
kitchen.
this is one of the better ones that I've seen for managing a 3D.
Actually, this
Right.
was the original one. There's been some copycats since, but
That-
this is by far the better one.
This
Yeah.
we've had this camera. We've got 2 cameras of this Matterport because we've been doing them for about 5 or 6 years
I mean, it
now.
responds to you, and you can turn the wall. A lot of them
Absolutely.
end up
Absolutely.
lost.
Absolutely. This Matterport. But the part that I like is the dollhouse.
I'm going to go to the bedroom
Okay.
first.
Going
But
to
you
the
can
bedrooms.
go wherever. And the beauty of this, if many buyers
And
that
this
come
is a
in,
vacant
perhaps they're
This is a vacant
Oh, this is
home
all
too.
staged.
right. Perhaps the buyer, one of them is in state, one of them's not. So instead of trying to take a video with your phone, you can just send them to this and say, you go look
Yes,
at the
you
home.
go
It's
look at it
almost
too.
like you're in there.
Yes, yes.
But the
Dollhouse
dollhouse,
is that one, right?
I love the dollhouse.
Oh, yes. You really get a perspective on
Yeah. What's
What's
over
above
what?
what?
what's where.
Yeah, you know,
Yep.
where are the bathrooms? How do I expand a bathroom? Those kind of things. So that's really useful as well. So
Yes, yeah.
and you can get a nice floor plan view as well. Let me just turn off just for 2. You can see the rooms with furniture in them, which is really useful
Yes.
because
The
now you can get
perspective.
some perspective on the property. So that's important.
Yeah.
So 3D tour is hugely valuable.
Oh, yes.
Especially, not necessarily especially today, but certainly today where buyers potentially have quite a small amount of time in the home too.
And why don't you talk about the website where you found this while
While I'm here.
while you're showing this?
You can,
Yeah.
jump to the top. So I've created photographs, I've got some beautiful narrative, I've got videos, I've got floor plans, I've got 3D tours, I've got all of that. So now let's package that up into a single place where all of that information is. So this one happens to be a website called 41 Sunset RD. 41 Sunset must be quite popular. I don't know.
So 41 Sunset.
41 Sunset RD, but 41sunset.com. And what we do here is we put all of the information about the home in one place. So here's the description of the home, what are the key features, there they are there. And then some narrative kind of walking you through the home as if you're at the open house.
I see.
And everywhere you see photographs, you can pan through and see multiple photographs. So there you're kind of walking, you're trying to you're walking the buyer through, trying to get them excited about the home by the narrative and the photographs. Let me go through to the bottom, and there's the 3D tour.
And they would go to your website,
Yep.
see the listings, and then tap on
Yep.
it and get these
Right.
things.
Yeah.
I see.
There's our video that we have for the home. This is the walkthrough video. You won't hear it because of the sound, but so we kind of walk our way through the home, giving people a better sense than the photographs, of course, because it's video, but not as good as that 3D tour. We talked about the property brochure before.
The feature sheet.
Feature sheet. that
Yes,
you have.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Here's the feature sheet. Here you can. This is the electronic version. You can page through it. You can print it.
I see.
And then we finish up with back to what I think Rachel talked about. Lots of information about the home. Where is it? Here's a map showing its relationship to all the schools, and then in relation to the public transport and so on. So kind of trying to provide them with a single one-stop shop, if you will, for everything about the home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well done.
There you
Oh.
go. Okay, last
Okay.
piece on marketing.
And then
not last bit.
I
know.
just looked
You've
at the
got
time and think, oh, I'm so sorry.
Well, you advertise 6:30 to 8:30.
There you
Oh,
go.
okay.
You've got 15 minutes. You've got plenty of time. So, I've created websites, 3D tours, photographs. I've created all of this information. Now, of course, we need to get it out in front of people.
Number 5.
Right?
No,
That's
it's
again.
not.
Not
This is
quite.
still marketing.
Not quite. Still marketing. I haven't
Okay,
quite finished that.
sorry.
I'm going to hand over to Danny in a moment. Right? Now, I need to get it.
Me
I'm
talking
with
too
you.
much.
You did how many seconds?
I'm with you.
This is how we now begin to get it out to a broad group of people. All right. So on social media, you're showing them home. This is just listed, post on social media, home of the week, and so on. Lots of information about the home. The beauty of this, or the important thing about this, is you've got to have high quality media. Otherwise, it's just going to scroll by somebody on social media. So here we are trying to gauge it or get excitement in the home by spreading it as broad as we can within the area, of course, not the point.
San Francisco. We don't
San
need to
Francisco
tell
doesn't
San
make any
Francisco.
sense, but kind of pushing this home, just listed home, together with all the information we have to a broad group of people.
And so what social media, you're on social media sites then? Or
Facebook.
Everything links from
Facebook.
does it link from your website to all these? No.
This links to the website.
Ah.
So we want them to look at this and go, wow, I'm interested in
And then you
what
go
it was called.
to Mass Property.
And then you click on that, and guess what? It takes you through to the website that's similar to what the one we just looked at on 41 Sunset. So
And it's Facebook. They're paid ad campaigns on Facebook, so that we get it out wide. I think we do something like a 15-mile radius of the
of the
home.
home.
I see.
So what we just saw, 41 Sunset, it will have a very similar Facebook post, and then when you click on this, it will take you through to the website that was underneath
I
41
see.
Sunset.
Thank you.
RD. So you're always wanting people to go back to where all that information is to get that excitement going. So first thing to do with this is to spread it wide. Then what we need, of course, is to start getting focused on people who, for example, have come to prior open houses. If they've come to an open house for homes which are 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms in Arlington, guess what? You really should know about 41 Sunset because it's just coming on the market.
And you have a vast database of all that.
We do.
23,000 people.
Lots
in
of
the database.
people. And so here we're
Just
looking.
a few.
Yeah, we're targeting people to say, hey, you came to an open house earlier this year, perhaps, similar to one we're bringing on right now. Guess what? You should be interested in this. And so we go broad, kind of spread it out wide, but then we also go very targeted with this information to get it in front of people who we think, based on what they've done in the past, what they've looked at on our website, open houses they've come to, all of that, will be interested in this home. So, we're driving, interest in the home, if you like, in both those two ways. So, that's the marketing piece. All of it has to be virtual, and then you kind of layer on top of this, getting it out in front of people in the way that they expect to view content today. You're buying a home in the same way that you would buy a car. You buy a car, the first place you would go would be Ford.com, and you so look at everything about the Ford, whatever it may be. And it's exactly the same with real estate, having all that information that buyers Buyers expect, not just buyers, but we all expect today. I want to know everything about X, I want to know all the features that I have if I'm buying a Ford X or a GM, whatever it may be. Number 5.
Me.
Almost done.
Me.
There we
And
go.
this one's fairly quick. Excellence through teamwork. What do we mean by that? We have 6 full-time support folks that help agents bring homes on the market. We've got specialists that work in each area. For instance, we were talking about our staging manager. She's a specialist. She's an interior designer. I can stage homes, but I can't do it as well as she can. We have a photographer, marketing person. Sure, I can market homes and things like this, but I can't do it anywhere near as well as he can. We have a listing coordinator. The verbiage that you'll see in some of these things, she can write prose. I can write, but sometimes I get writer's block, and I'm not part of the thing is to create that evocative image for the buyers to, I've got to go and see that house. So all of these components, we have specialists working on every component of bringing a home on the market. And where you've got the client is the center of our universe, if you like that. We've got the agent, we've got the listing coordinator, the closing coordinator. That's not just, bring your home on the market, but closing once the home's under agreement, helping to take it through to closing. The agent is involved all the way through. That's your single point of contact, but your agent doesn't delegate and not get involved with anything after that. Your agent is always involved but has specialists helping. Mm-hmm. So the marketing, the staging, preparation, and closing. We have, because our goal is to sell your home for the most amount of money in the least amount of time with zero stress.
Zero stress. Oh.
That's the aim. And most of the time,
I can't guarantee that, but we're going to do everything in our
most of the time
power.
we get there.
Absolutely.
That's a great goal.
Follow the process,
yeah.
and it will be.
And it's what creates experiences worth talking about. Because our aim is a relationship for life. That's
Very
our
nice.
aim.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to be someone that, when we sell your home, we'll never talk to you again. That's not who we are. That's not who we are. It's relationships are important to us because our core values: integrity, ethical behavior. Absolutely number one. We do not break that no matter what. No matter what. That is the number one. But it's also education, not selling. This is why we do these things, is to educate folks. It's not hard sell. It's just helping you understand how this all works. Because a lot of people may not buy or sell a home in 30 years, and things change in that time. They may do every 2 years, and things still change in 2 years. Exceptional customer service. They're our goals. They're our core values. But what's important is to use a professional versus an Aunt Mary. A professional does it day in and day out to get you the highest price. You don't want a 3Ps agent. A 3Ps agent is a term in the industry that most of the people in the industry know the term. A 3Ps agent is someone who puts it into MLS, puts a sign in front, and then prays.
I see.
That's a 3Ps agent. That's all they do. But it's not us that say that. NAR, which is the National Association of Realtors, commissioned an independent study. What is the biggest threat to the real estate industry? What is the biggest threat to the real estate industry? And this independent study came up with the number one threat to the industry being masses of marginal agents destroy reputation. The real estate industry is saddled with a large number of part-time, untrained, unethical, and/or incompetent agents. This knowledge gap threatens the credibility of the industry. That's the number one threat to the industry that an independent organization came up with. It's really important. So here's the agents that we have in the team. Myself, Marcus, Rachel, who is here tonight, and Corinne, Andrew, Yuki, Wenjen, and Rachel. So steps to success. Get us into advise, even 5 years in advance. We go and see people all the time who are thinking about selling in a few years and go and...
Really?
Oh yeah, people want that sort of advice. I once went and did paint colours for someone for the inside of their home because they're thinking about selling in 5 years, and I met... I think they're watching tonight.
Oh.
Yeah. And it's fun. That's fun for me. But what they did was sensible, because they said, we're not planning on selling for many years to come. And I went to see them about 4 or 5 years ago. they just sort of said, we want the colours because when it is time to sell, we just need to touch up the colours. We don't need to do a massive paint. And it's a really sensible, so we're happy to do that. We love doing that. Hi, Grace.
Before committing, before anyone committing with you?
Oh, absolutely. No, this is the fun stuff. Yeah, no. We work on a trust basis for a lot of this, because if we're doing the right thing by you, you're going to do the right thing by us, and we don't need to have signed paperwork to come and give you advice on anything. I mean, no, that's not how we work. But plan your move. Where are you going? When are you going? Do you need to sell to be able to buy? And the order of buying and selling depends on finances and market. Start preparing your home. Again, information is key. I mentioned the Selling Essentials video series before. You can find that on our website. Just scroll down on the homepage. And the market analysis is no obligation. Even if you're thinking about selling in 3 years' time, we'll do a market analysis now and just give you an idea of what your home is worth now, and then we'll do it again in 3 years' time when it's time to sell. And excellence through teamwork is partnering with you. You can reach out to anyone in the team and they'll help. Our aim, provide exceptional customer service. Communication is key, both ways. And relax, we've got this.
I like
Relax,
that word.
we've got this. Because we think that our client deserves to be the smartest person at the closing table, and we all benefit from becoming smarter about home buying and selling.
Very nice.
We're done. Not had a clap before at the end. That's thank you.
Maybe your audience at home is clapping.
Are you at home clapping? No. So I guess we can
Close down the live stream.
we can shut down the live stream and go from there. So thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. We
You just can't see it.